I think there's just this constant pressure in every business right now to use AI to drive better results, right? And ROI. I think marketers are asked to do this, developers are asked to do this. Every, user segment is asked to do this. And I think that being in flow with the work and how the work is being done, ingesting, performing that value in workflow, and then taking it out to where their customers are, that's what it means to be sticky. So to me, when you say like, what's the difference between an AI wrapper and something that's AI native? AI native is about your business, is about your business process, is about helping the people in your organization deliver more value. It's about augmenting them. It's not a wrapper, right? It has intelligence, it has value. So to me, that's what it means to be sticky.
Joining me today is Melody Meckfessel, the CTO of Jasper. She's been a technical leader and co-founder of 2 startups. Melody spent 15 years running engineering teams at Google, where she helped shape Google Cloud and improve search. In this chat, we explore the delicate balance of building trust in AI systems for users and engineers alike. Melody shares her journey from the early days of search to today's cutting-edge work in generative AI for marketers at Jasper. Well, thank you so much, Melody, for joining us today. Maybe we can start with a bit of your background. You have worked with very different scale and size companies deploying a lot of data systems using AI. We'd love to just get a sense of what you've done so far.
I would just say that my interest and curiosity as an engineer and builder is on how technology is in service to users and specifically customers. So I've always been very curious about challenges of scale and then how that gets revealed to the user, how the user interacts with it. So I would say at Google, it was tremendous. I had the opportunity to work in the early days of search, and things like competing on index size, and how those sorts of projects led to a bunch of innovations in Google search. Then how we scale, right, and how we really lead in search quality. And then, through like how we build data centers, how do you scale data centers and bring that equipment? How do you assist data center techs that are in the data center? And like I just give all of that as context because we weren't applying AI to any of those kind of aspects of how we were building at the time, but we're always curious about like what signals we could look at to learn from and put recommendations and proactive suggestions in front of our users to really understand what resonated with them and what was helpful. And then to use the kind of quantitative, qualitative engine of listening to feedback on the qual side, quantitatively looking at all the signal as we continue to make the experience better. And it wasn't until I really got into the developer space, being responsible for all of the internal developer and SRE systems at Google, and then how we took those out to Google Cloud, that I really started to zone in on this aspect of like how assist, and I'm not going to call it chat or copilot or, AI specifically, but how we bring assist into looking at the data, looking at user interactions and making those recommendations and how you build trust. So like my favorite example to go back to is we started putting coding recommendations in front of Googlers. And we started to see, I'm using like, this was not what was happening in the interface, but like, we have a suggestion of this updated library that you could use. It looks like there's an improvement, an area of improvement. Would you like to accept the suggestion? And we started by trying to build trust, right? And looking at what are they accepting. And then we'd say, okay, for this category, we see you've accepted 5 of our suggestions. Would you like to just have us take care of these for you in the future? And that was just a huge aha moment for me. Like, how do you build trust with users for suggestions? And now, like, fast forward many, many years later, where at Observable, startup, data visualization startup I worked at, we started to build an assist for how people work with data. And then at Jasper, Jasper is fully focused on marketers, all of the different types of marketers, content, product, social, and what their business processes are and how we assist in their flow of work. And for me, that progression of like, okay, building software is a team sport as any engineering leader or technical leader. But then how do you connect that to not just the assist internally, but the assist that you're doing out with your customers and how you're building? And it's weird to make that connection, but actually, if you kind of look at it, you're like, oh, like, how do we build trust ourselves as engineers using AI? And then how do we bring that into how we think about what we build for our customers? And that's a progression now, many, many, many years later, that I very much embrace. AI to assist in engineering and AI as we're building the platform, at least at Jasper, fully focused on marketers and being in this assist mode with them in many different dimensions.
That makes a lot of sense. How have you seen, from an evolution standpoint, just how you're leveraging some of the newer technologies, the evolution of AI specifically? How has that impacted the engineering side, whether it's at Google Observable or Jasper most recently?
Yeah, I would say there's pros and there's cons. The pros are we are trying new tools that very much inspire us and make us look at where we have inefficiencies in our workflow. And I think you're going to look at the rise of copilots and code assistance tools from that perspective. At Jasper, Jasper's in the first wave of AI, generative AI companies, and we very much try to live and breathe being an AI first engineering team. uh, but I have to say, there's a lot of churn, right? There's a lot of churn, and like you find a thing, you think it's going to work, you start experimenting with it, you test it, and it doesn't work, right? And it's hard to keep up with all the signal and how fast everything is moving. Then you look at, okay, how is that affecting how we build? and and every community, financial analysts, marketers for Jasper, all of our end customers that we're building for in enterprise have a lot of the same challenges. They have a lot of pressure to decide and pick tools that are going to assist in their workflow, and then they deal with like, it doesn't quite work, so what am I going to do? So I think it is affecting our engineering organization in that we very much embrace trying tools and having an experimental mindset, and then we adopt the ones that really do fit what we need. From a customer perspective, like that cost is really high, and that's
Mhm.
why I think there's really this place in for vertical and like niche AI platforms that are focused on a particular vertical, particular user, and can really tune and build for that specifically.
How much time do you spend looking at what is coming from like an AI capability standpoint, right? Because so much of this stuff is changing so fast, right? There, Jasper could be building some of the ML ops stuff, which I remember Jasper was doing in the early days, and then now we have 10 options that we can just outsource, right? Or GPT-2 to GPT-3 to GPT-4, and hopefully GPT-5. The capabilities are going to be very different. So how much time do you allocate to just understand the market?
I spend at least part of my time a week, like I don't know what it is. It varies by week per week, but I have a particular kind of carve out of just making sure I'm looking, and not, this is research papers too. So what's coming out of academia as it relates to new experiments and new kind of steps forward in, multimodal AI as an example right now that I think I'm paying a lot of attention to.
Hmm.
So I spend part of my time reading and listening, and then I spend part of my time doing lunch and learns and lessons internally with, hey, what's out there? What do we know? What do we want to start looking at and evaluating? And then I think it comes back for any startup. It comes back to what are you defining your business around, and making good strategic decisions about that. And in some cases, for Jasper, right, we are building a rich marketing knowledge and context layer on top of the foundational models. And that's the value we're providing, combined with the workflows, which is where marketers live and breathe and spend all of their time, and bringing intelligence to that. I think AI native products and wrappers, when people talk about them, to me, it's actually an indication of their assessment of the value, which can be very subjective. For me, having the AI and the platform, in this case, Jasper is purpose built for marketers, be in flow with the marketers is what delivers that value. And what does that mean from the AI? It means that Jasper has ingested the customer's data. We bring our marketing best practices. Uh, we understand your brand control, and we can bring that into the workflows, the jobs to be done, whether it's a product marketing brief, or it is a training webinar, or it is massive multimodal campaign for a new business or a new product line out into market to create more revenue streams for a customer. This like working in flow with the human is so important. And so it's not this chat off to the side. It is intelligent. It understands what's important to me. Is quality more important? Is speed more important? Is cost more important? And I think, if you come back, I'll just talk about the marketing specifics. Like, how do you build better customer engagement? How do you scale? Like, you could build good customer engagement. How do you scale personalization? Right? Personalization at scale is possible with AI Assist. You need to differentiate your brand with different audiences. That takes a ton of time from creative teams. What happens when you bring AI to that at scale? And then enforcement, right? So you don't have like a creative person going rogue on your brand. And then I think there's just this constant pressure in every business right now to use AI to drive better results, right? And ROI. You talk about this like ROI on AI because of just the expense and the results being inconsistent or unpredictable. So, I think marketers are asked to do this, developers are asked to do this, every, user segment is asked to do this. And I think that being in flow with the work and how the work is being done, ingesting, performing that value in workflow, and then taking it out to where their customers are, that's what it means to be sticky. And it is in many ways like digital process transformation in many years ago. We are in the AI business transformation. And if you talk to VCs and analysts and other folks that are talking to all these companies, they say enterprise adoption, it's it's horrific, it's not happening, right? This idea of POC purgatory, right? Where enterprises try AI and it completely fails. They can't implement it because they don't have sponsorship. It's not embedded in their process workflow. So to me, when you say like, what's the difference between an AI wrapper and something that's AI native? AI native is about your business, is about your business process, is about helping the people in your organization deliver more value. It's about augmenting them. It's not a wrapper, right? It has intelligence, it has value. So to me, that's what it means to be sticky. And that's what we're doing at Jasper. That's why it's so exciting to be building at Jasper, because that's what we're doing every day. We are trying to juggle paying attention to these kind of leaps forward with, if you look at OpenAI, you look at Anthropic, you look at open source models that are out there, and really trying to be strategic about what we pick to use and why, and making sure that we have the right abstractions. And to me, that is a really interesting problem to build for. Like, how do you build for representing the business entities of the customer that you're working with? And real understanding of that, and then building intelligence with the AI around that. In Google search, we were constantly testing ways to improve the quality of results. And we developed a human rater program. All the big platforms have these now, where we do side by side comparisons, right? And we're trying to get signal from a diverse audience. We also did a lot of live traffic experiments to at scale. You can do that at startups. It's a little bit harder. And then we had evaluation models and frameworks that we developed. And over time, right, we were able to develop really like a good set of metrics and signals to be able to pay attention to and look at. So this framework of being able to have kind of trusted source of data direct from humans in either live experiments or in rater programs, data sets that you could then develop synthetic data based on that, and golden data sets that you could also develop. Having access to that data, I think, is very strategic and important right now in this moment with AI. And it is a big challenge for startups to develop this in the area that's helpful for their ongoing platform development. So I think that that category of data is true for evaluating AI, and everyone's having to work through, uh, developing that data, getting access to that data, shared data, right? That's out on the market, and the pros and cons that come with that in terms of bias. And then I think there's the frameworks that you have to develop internally to be able to do that evaluation, the skills and the expertise, the resources, the environments to do it. And then on top of that is actually like an ongoing set of analysis and synthesis of the data and the experiments to be able to, really see the signal that's coming back out at you from all of that. And so again, I'll just go back to what are the three key things that AI that we need to pay attention to. And it's like it's some dimension of cost, it's some dimension of quality, and it's some dimension of speed, like how fast you want to go. And this dimension of quality is a really important one because in many ways startups are having to define what does that mean for the signal and what they're building, right? If we put the builder hat on. So back in those days, I'm so grateful for those experiences because that framework of thinking about how to do that evaluation is still true today.
How did you go about evaluating some of these tools?
Yeah,
Are there ones that worked especially well?
Yeah, I mean, I would say there's a lot of excitement right now in the Jasper team about a particular coding tool that's inspiring us around what we're building in the user experience. So, what we're doing is we're doing a trial, a pilot of this particular tool. There's a lot of activity around it in the market in the developer space right now. We've tried a couple of them, but we found one that is like, I don't know, it's the fastest adoption curve that I've seen in any engineering organization. We're like, oh my gosh, this product is like leaps forward in terms of our productivity. And by the way, it's also inspiring us to think about how we're designing and iterating on the interface with our customers because it is a dialogical experience that we as developers and engineers are having with the AI. And it is in many ways like inspiring us to see the world of what's possible in a way that maybe we couldn't see before because we didn't have that like aha moment as much in our own workflow. And I think that's very powerful. It's very powerful when you feel it yourself. Like I'm sure you can remember your first like aha moment with Chat GPT as an example. And so this is like from the developer's perspective, like deep in our DNA. Oh my gosh, like look at how it could assist us. And now we get to take that out into how we think about what we're building for Jasper, the interactions that marketers can have with the AI, how we build trust with them, how we show them and are more transparent with what the AI is doing and the suggestions that Jasper's making because of our knowledge of marketing best practices and their brand and the goals that they're trying to achieve in their business process workflows. So that to me is super exciting. And I think that, I've tried a lot of experiments in the past and I kind of canceled them because there wasn't resounding feedback. Oh my gosh, let's go use this. So that to me is great signal. I mean, I think it's very much in the coding, deployment, building mindset of just suggestions around like optimizations for code, new explorations. I think it's mainly like that dialogical conversation is just something new that it just hasn't been as good. And everyone in the ecosystem's trying to figure that out for developers. And I would share also, I think marketers are very similar to developers in that they have to juggle a lot of tools and that it doesn't really work together. And there's a lot of just trying to kind of make things work on your own. So when you find one that helps you with so much of the time that you need to spend building, you kind of want to go for it.
Very cool. Um, awesome. So maybe we could talk about uh, like some of the stuff that you're most excited about from a capability standpoint. Since we've talked about the capabilities of AI and what that has looked like in the in the past. What are some of the things on the horizon that might be relevant, useful that you're excited about to use for Jasper?
I guess I would come back to multimodal. And I think that anyone who's building is probably thinking about multimodal. How do we how do we build products that feel rich with these different, types of content that we interact with? I think, um, yeah, there's just such an opportunity to kind of level up experiences, to have this richness across, text, video, image, audio. I think the challenge with that is that we're going to have to push the boundaries of the interactions in platform, like how users provide signal around quality and what quality means for them. And I think, it does have high compute demands, right? So I think startups are having to navigate that cost benefit, resource consumption that, maybe the incumbents, they don't worry about that stuff. But as a startup, when I talk to startup founders, they very much are thinking about, okay, if we want to light up multimodal in what we're building, we have to go look at how much it's going to cost us and what the value is going to be to do that integration. And I'm really actually excited to see what the community is going to bring to multimodal innovation.
For sure. I mean, I think the cost question is one that, a lot of buyers are not yet asking because they're
Hmm.
not thinking that it's going to be possibly more expensive than a person doing it at some point
Yeah,
in time, which is now.
yeah,
Um, but I think that's definitely one big question mark, especially as companies go to consumption based pricing models.
yeah,
The other part, which is interesting, is all the development around agents.
yeah.
Like so far, agents have been relatively focused on business model
Hmm.
versus technology. And Jasper may have, I'm sure, has considered using some of the agentic technologies as well. What are your thoughts um, on that whole entire space?
I'm really excited about it. I'm really bullish on it because I think I actually spend a lot of time thinking about it. The opportunity for like augmenting skills and augmenting collaboration, I think is yeah, I think it's going to happen. I guess I'm curious. I'm curious, Joanne, like what you're seeing. But I think the key things that a lot of platforms are missing today are going to need to be addressed pretty soon. And those are just the kind of three dimensions of money, cost, quality, and speed, and understanding what those definitions mean to the customer. And I think it's just going to require a lot of building trust with users before we're able to get to the point where enterprises are comfortable delegating those tasks and those jobs to be done, and actually the projects in their entirety to agents. But I think they're going to be the ones that are going to be successful are going to deeply embed with the business processes and the business entities, and they're going to have experiences in platform where it's like, oh yeah, you've done this product campaign for us 5 times. We know what the quality signal is. Please go execute the next one on our behalf and come back with another round of suggestions of how we improve it. So I think it's just this ideal opportunity for augmenting skills in an organization and then ramping up collaboration in the platform well beyond what we've seen, right, from like chatbots or anything in the Copilot space.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think with agents, we are seeing a lot of product marketing around, hey, like this machine can do X for you, whatever X is. You should pay this thing to do that for you. Very rarely do we see implementations that are truly agentic, meaning it's fairly open ended, except for perhaps experimental settings like game development or some kind of training. I think training is pretty popular. But typically, I think what companies would do is have the agents map out a process or a set of processes and then really embed that into software. So there isn't that open endedness. And then calling that really agentic.
The one other area that I'm seeing this is in infrastructure operation. So if you think about site reliability, you think about cluster management, you think about the kind of low level, uh, production operation space. I do think that there's an opportunity for a lot of traction there, just on the tech side,
Yep.
because those configurations are known. I mean, just look at what's out there in the ecosystem with the current set of really really going big startups and trying to use Bench, right, as a way to assess and evaluate quality. And I bet there's going to be a bunch of other standards that are going to come up because we all have this challenge of training data. How do we prove that it's quality? How do we prove that the agent is doing what it's expected? There's a ton of noise. And I think there are some startups in this space that are really tactically trying to solve those problems. And you're right, like in the customer space, in the learning space, in tech, I think it's already starting with the operations, sysadmin, site ops, production ops, scaling, because there's so much great data and signal to yeah to prove against, really.
That makes sense. Going back to multimodals for a minute,
Yeah,
we've seen some pretty impressive gains recently in Gemini,
yeah.
GPT 4.0. What is like? What do you think is going to be next in terms of capabilities, or even some of the stuff that you guys are really watching out for?
Yeah, I mean, we're really focused deeply in the image space right now and expanding from that with clip drop.
Hmm.
Uh, and yeah, I don't know. Like, it's hard to say. I mean, I think I just go back to the question before. It is challenging. It's both exciting and challenging to keep up with the moves forward. And I think once you commit, you have to make this decision, like, is this our proprietary amazing IP? Which for images I can say confidently that at Jasper we have that with clip drop. But then where do you start to kind of expand from? And you have to be watching the broader market, like the advancements that we've seen recently with Gemini. So my approach to that, as in my role at Jasper as CTO, is making sure we have good relationships with those underlying, platform providers, so that we can be informed as much as we possibly can, but then focus on the things that are core to our business and our expertise. And
That
that's
makes
where I
sense.
think it's fun for the team also, where there are places to open source, that we do open source and that we do try to build community momentum. And that's where we, as a startup working in the space, can both contribute and move the field forward in a way that still is, focused on our business, for marketers.
Makes a lot of sense. What on the hiring side, hiring is obviously very challenging still, right, for the best engineering and AI talent. What have you seen, over your career, and especially now? Where are maybe the biggest challenges on that front?
Well, I've had multiple interviews that were clearly uh, chat GPT answers. It was very clear that the individuals were reading. We've filtered through what looked like great, highly technical resumes that were just generated. We've encountered, just crazy like avatars with patterns of same periods of time and almost duplicate resumes. So I would just say, like, yeah, it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild out there on the hiring front. Candidates are using AI to help get hired and see what resumes make it through the hiring pipeline. Uh, so I would just offer that. That's a recent, experience that we've encountered. And then on the hiring side, I would say the market is great right now to hire. People are really interested in startups, especially startups that are building with customers. And Yeah, and we're having great luck. I mean, I'm looking in adjacent markets. AI engineer is a role and a rec that's out there. We have one at Jasper. I think the skills that are coming into that are pretty diverse, right? Like, we're in this transition of some people still are using like ML and AI infra, and we're looking in adjacent areas like data infrastructure for skills and a wide breadth of skills to hire. And yeah, it's been great. I interviewed a incredible like 3 to 4 candidates for principal engineer uh, just this last week.
Very cool. That's great. And how is, the engineers want to work as some of the, hardest engineering and AI challenges, or all those challenges, right? Whether so OpenAI and Anthropic and all these places. And then in the last generation, the autonomous vehicle companies kind of were the desirable places to work. Are you still seeing a lot of that, especially because OpenAI and some of these firms are getting so big?
I mean, the candidates that we're getting a lot of inbound, and we have our own network that we're utilizing. I would say that most of the people that are coming through our hiring process are really like, it's too crowded already. Like the big platforms, the politics, the ability to ship, the bureaucracy. They just don't want any part of it. I think everyone feels that we're in this transformative moment to build. And the engineers that I talk to that either came from big tech or came from startups that are looking to build AI right now, they want an opportunity to actually ship and build with customers and learn. And I think there's just a lot of skepticism that even, like OpenAI and Anthropic, they're big companies. And you have to navigate them like you would a Google or a Microsoft or an AWS or a Meta. So yeah, I would say the startup hiring market right now it's incredible, especially if you're building AI with customers. And it's interesting. I was talking to a bunch of early stage founders, AI first companies, and one of the patterns that I noticed that is connected to hiring, Joanne, so stay with me on this one, is that I've seen some of them not putting any sort of trial out into the market. And I think that's crazy. Like just nothing. Everything is gated. And I just think that's such an interesting dynamic. Like, I think exposing what's possible in your platform has to be table stakes. And it's interesting to see that being unwound. But it's so important from a hiring perspective because I think if people can, if engineers that you're hiring can really get a sense of what it's like to be a marketer and use AI and what they would be building behind the scenes, it makes such a difference. Makes such a difference in the hiring process.
Melly, this is one of maybe the fun questions I had, which is if you were to start another company, and not suggesting you're going to do that, but if you
I
were,
will someday. I will do.
you will someday. There we go.
Absolutely.
What
Absolutely, I
would you
will.
work on?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think in the next 5 years, there's going to be so much innovation around context and really redefining how humans interact with uh, technology and computers. I'm so excited for that. So I would probably want to work on something related to that. And I think to me, it would probably be very personal in the sense that I have some ideas of things that would assist in people as they don't have the time or the energy to keep up with technology, but they want to continue to use it and get the benefit from it. So, I have a couple of ideas that I've been marinating about how do you assist people that are older or maybe less connected to AI and the assistive AI in their daily lives. I would love to work on something like that. I would also love to work on something that really changes how developers build software. I had this project at Google where we studied what were the major drains of developer productivity. This was a while ago, but we did a lot of analysis and experimentation around it, and we found it was like well under 2 minutes. The driver at the time, way back when, was like build times, like how long would a developer wait for a build? And that is like that's much shorter now, like much shorter. So I think my perspective is that what is missing in the tools that we're using, the software that we're using for these particular tasks, is missing that hey, just go do it for me and come back later. Let me know when it's done. Those longer running proactive sorts of research or assist for humans, we need to start just being more creative around what that interaction is, because I think it's really short right now. And when the generations are wrong or they're way off, I think we're having an even shorter. We have more impatience. we're more impatient about like the quality of the results. There's nothing more frustrating than having to go back and forth and it just not getting it. That's not a long lag time, but it is like a frustrating interaction. So I think when the outputs are wrong, how long does it take to get to the output that's right is one that I'm more interested in. I think humans are willing to wait. I would love for us to have more opportunities to say, like, this isn't important, get back to me later, in the tools that we use. Because I think that should be easy for us to do, right? I think developers are very much not going away. Like, we will be augmented in both our skills and collaboration in the future. And I like visualize and see out in the future this kind of like conductor role, and how we're going to communicate and interact with the ideas of what we want to build, and how the tool set that we'll have to bring together for that particular problem will be formed and will be developed and will be taken out into the world, right, for other people to benefit from. So I'm really bullish on how developers are going to benefit from AI, and the creativity and the new business opportunity that that's going to mean for developers and for the companies that they work for. I probably would I probably will do something in that space. I don't know.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we can't wait.